really think this show is trying to turn us off from getting married. What do y'all think? Single people out there and even married people. Does Love and Marriage Huntsville show a good representation of marriage? The show got the word marriage in the title, but some of the things that I watch just makes me not want to get married. No, it still makes me want to get married, but it shows me how selective you really do have to be, and that you just don't need to go rush to the finish line to get your happy ending to say I do at the altar. No, because these got men in the Hawk man, Martell Hall, I don't know. They're not really making me be like happy, happy, joy, joy, ready to go down the aisle with any man. Because if I end up with somebody like them, everybody has their flaws, but sometimes I do feel like they do too much. From Marcel thinking that he should have a second property, a second living domain. Like, you ain't going nowhere from me if we married. Like, what you think this is? At least I would feel like that's how I would want my man to feel about me. And the same thing with him. Like, why would you want to be away from your wife if you don't have to? For business or not, I'm your business. That's your first business, is me. So don't be trying to separate us and put distance between us. But we'll talk about that in another video. This video is how Marcel is going. Not Marcel, Maurice. Maurice is going viral, and how people on Twitter call him a sad excuse of a man. Because although Kimmy is going through what she's going through with her cancer situation, she still does her womanly, wifely duties and satisfies her man. And I get that, because I do feel like in marriage, say for better, for worse, but at the same time, we're people, we're humans. And I feel like so many times if the roles were reversed, Kimmy would be looked at as a bad person for like wanting that. Now, I understand men are wired differently. Mom, maybe I just answered my question. Men are wired differently. And, I'm not going to come down on Kimmy, but I'm going to congratulate her and be happy for her that she has the strength to even be there for her husband in that way. You know what I mean? Even though like she's going through what she's going through physically, she still, I feel like, should be well, the pat on the back for still satisfying her man, And that's another thing too. I feel like she may feel as though I better, so he won't have no reason to complain. I feel like that's kind of tough. Everybody probably goes through and sacrifices in marriages, the woman and the man. So I don't want to judge her and what she should and what she shouldn't do. But I can understand the outrage from fans as well, and why they feel like Kimmy is doing a lot to satisfy Maurice. So I do understand men have needs and desires when married, but I also feel like there is a time that whether it's the woman that's lacking or the man that's lacking or can't do their wifely or husbandly duties, that's when we can rely on God's grace. And although Maurice may not be getting his sexual needs fulfilled, that could be a time that him and Kimmy come together and their spiritual lives can grow. Now, maybe I'm talking like fairy tale, like imaginary, or I may not be all that realistic with that, but it's just something that I consider, because I would think about if I had to go with something that my husband couldn't provide for me. Because those things are external, but your spirit is something that continually grows and that really should be fed. And, it's just a time that I feel like they can just come together in maybe not a physical way, but a spiritual way. I'm not saying he doesn't have needs. I'm not saying that he should neglect them, but I also kind of can see where people are talking about with the backlash that Maurice is getting. So some people on Twitter said, Maurice had mentioned there's a difference between wants and needs, and I'm a person who actually needs sex. What Kimmy is doing is admirable as a spouse. To roll over and suffer through it, I was hoping it wouldn't be a suffering, She rolls over, suffers through it, fakes it all for me. At that moment, it's something that she completely didn't desire. Talking about, their intimacy. People on Twitter did not like that. So he said, roll over and pretend while she's dying. It's standing by him while he's standing by her. Men are the problem. Someone else tweeted, wow, this man is a whole lawyer and he couldn't articulate his thoughts any better than this. Roll over and suffer through it. Maurice and Kimmy used to be my favorite couple. Kimmy deserves better. Someone else said, he said, while she suffers through it, he's okay with his needs causing her suffering on top of her already existing suffering caused by having cancer. And someone else said, WTF did I just watch? Maurice is certified treacherous, manipulative, and evil. I'm truly disgusted. So I can understand the outrage and the backlash from Maurice's comments. I guess it's likened to if the man was in a situation. But I understand men and women are wired differently. So you see, I'm trying to be as politically correct about the situation. But I do feel like since marriage is a covenant and, it's something ordained by God, that I do believe that God can help even in these kind of situations, or it's like a spiritual solution for an earthly problem. So yeah, although they can't come together physically, this could be a time where they spiritually can grow together. If Kimmy not feeling it, let's pray for her strength. Let's pray for the strength of Maurice, to maintain his covenant. Because what is making me feel like, okay, since she can't do it, then that would give him freedom or license to cheat. That's where he's going with it. So it's like, well, to me, that's what it feels like. So, okay, she's suffering through it, but at least I'm not cheating on her kind of thing. That's what it's giving me. It's not giving me vibes that I'm going to support my wife through this. It's more so like I'm going to get my needs met regardless. So I see why people feel the way they feel about Maurice. And then I also, because I'm not a man, I'm trying to be open-minded and can understand possibly how he may feel too. But I do truly believe the same way that God brought them together, he could keep them together, and sex ain't the only thing. You know what I mean? The only thing that bonds people. Because guess what? When they get old in age, they may not be able to do that. But sometimes it could just be intimacy, laying on the couch. He could just give her a massage, a back massage. Maybe she could give him a massage. Things like that. Like physical touch. If physical touch is what he is craving, I feel like it doesn't automatically have to be, sex. It could be other things, other intimacy involving physical touch. They get couples massages or things like that. They could go to the beach, swim in the pool. Cuddle, hug, kiss, make a meal together, slow dance. It's just like a lot of things to do, especially if Kimmy isn't feeling it, because I feel like the same thing could be true for men. Like sometimes they may not be feeling it if stuff is going on at work or if they lost their job. They may not be in the mood. And I feel like we as women would have to understand that. And that's just what it is, being able to cover your partner in the down times, because every day you may not feel like it regardless, whether it's a sickness involved or not, from both parties, because life be lifing. But I just had to share that with you guys and get y'all perspective on how y'all feel concerning Kimmy and Maurice. Basically, people are saying we didn't know it was this bad for Kimmy. And that's another thing, too. Marriage is a beautiful thing, but I feel like we shouldn't put it on a pedestal because everybody's marriage is different. Although it's like when we see two people together, we automatically assume like, oh my gosh, beautiful, best thing ever. But you just never know what's going on behind closed doors or what people are really putting up with. And the same thing when you see a single person. Just because you see a single person does not mean they're alone, boring, or lonely. It be lit single. You be having your peace of mind. You go and come as you please, and it helps you to understand you and what you will want in a partner, in a mate. Because sometimes I think some people stopped being single too soon. So they really don't know who they are, and they got with a person what matched them at one level, but they kept growing. And now that same person may not match who they currently are, So that's just my theory. Anyway, let me know what y'all think about this situation, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.
Synquette, man, that girl was heaven sent. Synquette, man, that girl was heaven sent.